All right, guys, so it is Thursday, January 2nd, 2025. It's kind of difficult to say this early in the game anyway. So I didn't get to work on his car yesterday at all. I had forgot the family Christmas had been rescheduled for yesterday, the 1st, at my mom and dad's house. My dad had gotten sick and he was in the hospital for our Christmas, so we didn't have my family side of Christmas yet, and we had it yesterday. So I missed out yesterday working on Steve's car. So I am very glad that I said that in that earlier video, that, you know, it's not set in stone that I'm going to have him come over and help me put the bumpers on and the hood and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know that I'm going to have enough time now. There's only today and tomorrow. Now I'm still gonna work on the car today and tomorrow, but I don't know that I'm gonna get as far along as, you know, to that point where I'm ready for him to come over here. I actually, it's gonna be a little bit time consuming because I gotta hang the front sheet metal on the car, the fenders and the grill and all that kind of stuff. And I forgot that on one part of this car, when it first came here, there was a grill trim, the corner molding that goes around the grill on the side. It needed to be, the holes needed to be slotted a little bit more so that trim could be adjusted a little bit. So I'm glad I remembered that. So when I get ready to put the grill in the car, I'm gonna pull that piece of trim off and I'm gonna elongate them holes. And I think there's 3 of them, maybe 4. I think there's 3. Anyway, I'm gonna elongate them just so I have adjustment room there. So hopefully it'll fit better than it did before. But I mean, it's close, the car's close. I still need to wire up the starter solenoid. I've been procrastinating on that because, you know, it's gonna suck. I'm gonna have to hang way down in there inside of the car and reach through and wire stuff up. Anyway, I've got that to do. I wanted to get the taillights wired and all that installed now that everything's restored, because I've got this pulled out, this electric gas door. I've got the actuator and I turned it off with it out here so I could take everything apart. And I want to get that back in so it's out of the way. Every time I walk through here, like if my car's in here, if I walk through here, I have to always be cautious of that so I don't bump it. I don't know if I showed this or not, because I know there was one of the videos a long time ago that I'd stated I didn't want to take this off, but after I got it open, looking in there, how bad of a job that it was, because there was overspray on everything, I decided to go ahead and take it off, and I'm glad I did, because the bolts were too long that they had bolted that too, and it had started chipping the paint there. That would have only gotten worse. Also, there's all kinds of debris down inside the track. I've got to re-grease that too. But anyway, I ended up having to put a new seal on this. I blasted these and painted them. I just used cast iron gray because you don't really see it anyway. But it's a good idea to paint these, because this pop metal, once it starts getting corrosion on it, it just eats it up, this white corrosion crap. And you can kind of see some of the marks where it's eaten it away already. But anyway, I blasted them, got all the corrosion off, and I painted them, so now they should be good to go for decades to come. But I put a new seal on there and glued it in. Now, when they put that rubber seal around this on the back side, when they did it, they actually seamed it right here on the bottom middle, and it had already come loose. About 1 inch of it had come loose on both ends. So with this actuating in and out, it would have just got worse and worse and worse, and eventually the rubber seal would have been hanging out from underneath the chrome bezel at the tail. So I ended up, that's all solid across there one piece, and I seamed it up here, and you can't even hardly tell. Right in front of my thumb right there is where I seamed that. So it looks really nice. When this is open, it won't look, you know, look like amateur hour. It's going to look pretty clean, and I'm pretty happy about that. But I'd like to go ahead and get all this tail put together. Now, he had bought new, these are backup lenses. So the backup lenses that are in here were new like 10 years ago, but they were already foggy and cracked. So I threw them out and he got me new ones. The taillight lenses, I got them polished and ready to go. So it's gonna look like $1 million back here, man, when that goes on there, especially when we get the bumper on the car. So that's kind of the plan. I want to wire the solenoid like first thing. I still need to tighten down this. I forgot about this. I stick tape on the car and write stuff on there so I have notes. And that's for like when I get the car up and running, I've got these in the, kind of my line of sight, so I can't forget them. Like the tie rod sleeves are loose. You know, I left all the front suspension stuff kind of loose because once everything's bolted together on the car, I can do my own at-home alignment and get it pretty close. So we can test drive it and drive it all around and everything. But it will, you know, it'll need to go to an alignment shop when the car leaves here and it's done. So, and it's going to have exhaust put on it. This temporary exhaust I done, it should last. I did his collectors and did a 45-degree bend going down to, and then I clamped his cherry bomb mufflers to those. But the muffler shop, all they gotta do is take the muffler clamps off the mufflers, and I've got them wired up at the back. Cut the wire off, take the clamps loose, pull the mufflers off, and do the exhaust, because I'm assuming they're gonna put the mufflers back further. But this up here won't need to be redone. It's a brand new piece of exhaust pipe welded to the collectors, and all new bolts and everything, new gaskets. So that should go pretty easy. I think it's quiet enough with just the mufflers that, you know, I don't think you'll get pulled over. It sounds really good. It's just going to be obnoxious in the car, you know what I mean, with no tailpipes. But anyway, I can show the door now that I've got the weather stripping all dialed in. The last video you saw, I was gluing weather stripping and all that kind of crap on here, but now that the door's shut, everything's adjusted the best I could do. I am really pleased with it. I know in the video clip it may have sounded like I wasn't happy with it at all, but it's probably nicer than what the factory would have had. It fits the car really well, and I can tell you it fits way better than what it did when it first came here. But it's just the door needed gap. This is something I think nowadays anybody doing a restoration on any Tri-5 Chevy, they need to at least check their doors out. It is not difficult task to gap, and especially if you're working on a 4-door sedan, Tri-5 Chevy, those rear doors the tolerances are way too tight, man. And I have had those cars in the past that I painted them and everything, and they will end up with chips on the door edges because the gaps are just too tight on a 4-door on the rear doors. On my wife's car, I went in and ground that skin down, and of course it separates the fold and you have to tack it back together and regrind it. But it ends up getting a nice line in it. You don't have to worry about paint chipping. But in this instance, the door wasn't gapped, which it's just like factory. This is the original door from the car. That one over there is a replacement. So that's an aftermarket door over there. This is an original. So everything I'm showing you, and even this I think is original on the car, the quarter. So what I'm showing you, this is how it left the factory. If you look right here, in between my fingers, you'll see that there's a really wide spot right here. That would have needed weld added to it to make this line absolutely perfect. Now, it is very tight up here. So I can't pull the door back to close this gap up because the gap halfway is pretty decent. Then it gets a little bit fatter down here. If I pull the door back, this is going to be way too close. Because when these cars, these sport coupes, when you're driving them, when you're driving over things, driving down the road with inconsistencies, the body's flexing, and that door will smack that, and it'll chip paint up there. So this is how I adjusted it, and that's how it's going to have to be. But anyway, I adjusted it. It's really nice, man. The trim almost lines up perfectly here, you know, and it's better than factory, but I'm happy with it. Let me tell you that. And the door, it closes amazing. It is absolutely fantastic. I've got the weather stripping put back on. I've got his door lock knobs screwed back on there. I don't have them tight. I run them down quite a ways, but I didn't tighten them up because he's got to put his, when he puts his door panels on, he can put his garnish moldings on and stuff. And I've still got to put the stops in here. When I go in and put the flippers in, I got to do a lot of adjustment on the windows and everything. But yeah, it's nice, man. And the other side closes just like that. So anyway, that's the plan today, is wire up the solenoid. I need to go back and I need to take my washers out from underneath this cowl panel, because when the car first came here, the hood was sticking way up, and it was down as far as it would go over there, and the hood was sticking up past the cowl. So in raw metal, you would basically bend the back of the hood down to where it would close that gap up, but the car's painted, so I couldn't do anything like that. So what I ended up doing was putting washers underneath this to space the cowl panel up to the hood so it was even. So Anyway, it's not that noticeable. There's washers under there. But I'm going to go ahead and take them out now, because once I took the front clip off the car, I found a few issues that's causing that very problem, and I'm going to correct it. So the bracket that is on the front fender is supposed to be riveted to it from the factory, and it's the bracket that goes to the rear of the fender back here that you're to bolt it down here. Somebody has had that off, and they put really tall screws in it. They're like some big tall screw, and it's hitting. So that is, you know, keeping that from going down, settling a little bit more. So I'm going to remove those bolts and put in some button head Allens. And then here is another problem right here. This is curved upward. This is supposed to be flat. So I am going to go in here and tap on this, because if something does happen to this, I can tape this whole bracket off, because it's spot welded to the top of the cowl. I can tape this whole piece off and go back and repaint just this if the paint cracks or something. But I need that knocked down to get that fender to come down a little bit more. So anyway, I'm going to correct that while I'm here. That's why I said I've got there's a lot of little things I got to do before the front clip even goes on the car. So I don't think I'm going to have this ready to put the hood and the bumpers and all that stuff on. No doubt we can put the rear bumper on, but there's no sense in doing the rear bumper if we can't do the front bumper and all this stuff at the same time. So I'd rather just, you know, continue on slow and steady, and when it's ready, basically. But car's close, man. It's really close. I've got a couple more things of issues that's kind of popped up, and it's stuff you don't really think about. I had him get an amplifier for the sound system, because I have to wire up the whole sound system, and I told him now'd be the time to get an amplifier, you know what I mean? So the problem is the battery is in the trunk in that box, and the wiring, I have one deal of wire coming out from underneath it through a grommet and out and through and up there, and it's for the radio memory wire. But there has to be a wire going there for the amplifier, and so I'm going to have to do something there, run a power wire into that. So I don't know if I'm going to have to take that back loose from the floor. I kind of don't want to, so I might try to figure out a different way of doing it. I'm just going to have to get in there and figure it out. And then I am going to end up putting a weatherproof relay breaker, basically, back there for the main battery cable. So I had run that by him a few weeks ago, and we're going to put one on here. I need to put one on my hardtop too. It's like a breaker that's waterproof, and you can get them. The one I got in the watch list is like 150 amps. But anyway, if something happens, it flips that breaker, and you know, you can reset it. It's better than the car catching on fire, you know, lose all the power to everything or catch a car on fire. So we're gonna put a breaker on it. So, you know, there's still lots of little bitty things to do, and it's just gonna be a lot of work, man. Lots of tedious work. And then I don't know where the screws are and the little bracket pieces for the horns. I don't know where those are. They're kind of specific little parts that go on here, and I don't have those. Now, it doesn't necessarily need that little square with a pin thing that goes on there for the spade to go on and all that kind of stuff. So what I think I'm going to do is use some stainless star washers, number 8s, and some 8/32 Phillips machine screws. But I don't have any short ones, and I need them. So, and I need those for something else on the car, the same length. So I need to get a little pack of those. I can get those at Lowe's. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. All right, guys, I'm going to talk to you about drains in these cars. They actually have some drains in them, and I want to explain this and talk about it, because there may be some guys out here that are new to the Tri-5 Chevys, and you may be experiencing water in your front floorboards after you wash your car or driving it in the rain or whatever, and you could possibly be getting water in the trunk, and you can't figure out where it's coming from when you've got all new rubber on everything and you're pulling your hair out. These could be the culprit, and I really think it's probably going to surprise some people that never knew that these were in there. And you've pretty much got to completely strip a car down to even know they're in here. But anyway, a two-door hardtop in particular, a sport coupe, it has, now I'm talking 55s, this is what I'm showing you, but these 55 hardtops, they have drains up here. There's a gutter behind this windshield seal. There's a gutter in there. And it's basically designed for the leaks that would happen around the windshield. The water will end up down in that channel, and it will either go to this side or it'll go to that side, and it'll drain out through some low part of the channel back here. I'm going to put the camera in there and show you on Steve's car. I just put these drains in here. Right there underneath my finger, see that oval grommet looking thing? So that is the front drain gutters or drains, seals, whatever you want to call them. But anyway, when water builds up in there, it will go down in that low spot and drain out. And there's a tube glued on the bottom of that. It's like a funnel-shaped oval grommet. And there's a rubber tube glued to it, and it comes down. And it goes down in your cowl and comes out the side right here. So if you have your front clip off your car, you need to make sure you get your drains in before you put your fenders on. Now there's two designs on these cars, 55s. Some of them, it may be an early thing, they had these little metal push-in deals right here that lock onto that rubber hose. And later they changed it, like 56, they changed it to this bigger grommet, so the hole's bigger. Now, Steve's car had the big holes already. So that's why I think this is probably early and maybe this is late. I don't know 100%, I'm just explaining it. But on my 55, it had these goofy things and I don't like them. So I bought the set just like Steve's, and I opened up the hole to this grommet size. So I've modernized it a little bit, changed it, upgraded it, we'll say. Now, I do like to use a little bit of super glue, like super glue gel, just a little bit on the end of that hose on here, because you want that to stay in there. Now, if the hose comes out of that grommet, it'll just be out into the main area where your door hinges are. It's still going to drain out. There's a drain hole down here underneath this gutter, or this cowl. So the water coming out of that tube will still go down there, but this is where the factory had it come out. Now, to put glue on it, I will pull that hose, because it's pretty long, I will pull the hose out, I don't know, ½ inch or so, and I'll put a little bit of glue on it, and then I'll just push it right back down in there. So I've got it just a little past flush, but you can put it in flush if you want to. I just brought his out a little bit past it. But anyway, he's got new drain gutters in the front. Now, hard tops have them in the fronts. They don't have them in the rear. Sedans, 2-door sedans, 4-door sedans have rear drain gutters right here. So there will be a gutter right that has basically a gutter back there, but there's a drain that goes in here, and I've got those right here new. These are for my wife's car, but I can show you. Now, this is sedans. So there'll be a round hole, and these are a lot larger diameter of a drain than the fronts. But anyway, you would put these in just like those. You'd put them in from the inside of the vehicle down and then make the grommet snap in. This hose goes into a hole on the inside of the car up in there. And it's kind of hard to know. You're not going to see it on Steve's car. You know what? I'll just take you out and show you on a sedan that I've got out here cut up. That way you can see. All right, so this is cut off of a 4-door 55, and this, I've got the quarter removed from it. This is part of what's left of up in the inside of the vehicle, but this is the package tray, the rear deck, you know. There's the original drain right there, which is that round one. You would feed it in from the top and then put it in there, and then it comes in and comes out of the hole in the body right here. This thing's just rotten. So it just basically loops down and goes in there. And that's how the factory would drain your rear window. When it got water down in there, it would drain out into here. So, in case you didn't know. All right, so I talked about this in an earlier video, but these are clips here that are sharp on the ends, and they're basically designed to poke into the weather stripping, and then you put a screw in it and it holds it down. In this case, it's in the corner, and this is factory. Now, some people might think you would put that over the top of the weather stripping, and that is not the case. This has to be poked into the weather stripping. The reason is, if you tried to put it on top of this, it would smash this so much you're going to have an air leak and a water leak into the car. So you have to poke it in there. I go about halfway in the weather stripping, shove it in there, and then push down on it and put the screw in it. Now, the original weather stripping on these cars had a metal wire liner inside of them that doubled as a clip. So this would go into that and grab that wire. So it had a metal frame inside of it that basically held it down real good. This is just going into a spongy seal. So, but anyway, that's pretty much what you have to do nowadays to do that. But Without this clip, the weather stripping won't hold that contour unless you glue your seal on. But anyway, there was a hole in the door for the screw, so I used a number 8 screw in here, and just, these are original claws, and I just sanded them down and painted them. That's black etching primer out of the aerosol can. Pretty good for a little touch-up, little small jobs like that. But I painted both sides of it. Now, this is an original door on this side of the car, so that worked out pretty good. I did run a drill bit back through there, an 1/8" drill bit back through there, just to make sure, you know, no buildup and primer and paint and all that kind of stuff, because if the hole was a little bit smaller from all that stuff and you went to put the screw in, it would chip out real wide. So I cleaned the hole out with an 1/8" bit first. So I came around to the other side to put it on, and I ran into a huge problem. This is an aftermarket door right here. So this is not an OEM door, and they already have a hole in it, but it's not a number 8, it's bigger. So I had to go with a number 10 screw. So that's really irritating. I haven't tried to put it inside that little claw thing yet. Hopefully it fits, but if I have to open up the hole in that, that's going to be another pain in the butt thing, that this aftermarket stuff for these cars, where it basically strike again, you know. All right, guys, another thing that I want to do before the front clip goes on the car is there's these covers right here that the factory put on with a Phillips screw, and this has butyl underneath it to seal it off. So I'm not 100% sure why the factory went through the trouble of putting butyl on here to seal this up, because it's designed to drain water. When it rains, you know, or wash your car, water goes down in the cowl and it goes through there. My assumption is to get as much airflow out the cowl vents and the floor, because the air that goes through here, you have your floor vents, one on each side, those doors that you pull the cable and they open and air comes in from that cowl. So my only assumption is if all the stuff is sealed up, it'll blow harder out the floor vents. I don't know, but they do have a big drain hole at the bottom of them down there, so for water. So I'm just going to do it like factory did. There's a reason the factory did it, so I'm going to look at it that way, and I'm going to reseal it. So I took this one off, and there was only a little bit of butyl left. The other stuff, you know, it was dried and hardened up a little bit in places. So I'm going to go ahead and replace it, and I'm going to see if I got enough stainless screws to put in here, because they just put a regular old steel screw in there. It's a number 8 Phillips. So anyway, this is what I use on this little job, this 3M strip caulk, and it just comes in strips, and you just tear off what you need and stretch it and squish it and do what you need to do. But anyway, I've got this cleaned off. I've got the bottom piece of it cleaned off, and I'm going to stick it back on there, and that'll be all resealed, and I need to take that one off and do that as well. But I noticed while I was over here, there's no plug in here. There's supposed to be a plug in this. So I got my rubber grommet stuff out here and plug stuff. There's an original right there, but I know it's going to be hard. So what I think I might do is heat this up really big. I was just looking at my heater over there. I got a heat gun going right now, actually. I might stick this over there and let it get super hot, and then I'll stick it in there. But that plug is supposed to be in there, and I need to check the other side and see if there's one over there. But there's another one right there. This one's in nicer shape than this one. I mean, most of the stuff's pretty new, but there are some used ones in here. And it's a good thing, because you run into stuff like this and you don't need a plug. Once the fender goes on there, you're not going to be able to access that anymore. So I am going to go ahead and seal this up, and then I need to get this fender bracket knocked down flat. That's causing one of my issues of the stuff being up too high over here. Alright, I've already cleaned these surfaces off of this with some Prep All wax and grease remover stuff. So this is 3M strip caulk. I'll put a nice little bead around this. It'll seal it up really nice. Nice and fresh and sticky again, and when I took the one off the other side, there was about, I don't know, half or 3/4 of it that was down in the body, like it had come out and kind of rolled in, so that would have been a leaker. And again, I'm not really sure why the factory wanted these sealed, but if the factory did it, I'm gonna do it, you know. And I'm gonna put a little bit across that top edge of that flap right there because I noticed there wasn't anything on that one. So anyway, I just pretty much put it on like that and squish it up on there. And now I dug out a couple of number 8 Phillips screws in stainless steel. I'll do my screwdriver. They're just a little bit longer than factory, but a longer screw here is just fine. Anyway, now that won't rust. There's a pretty good gap under there. It's got butyl there that thick, so it's fine, but I wish it fit a little tighter. Anyway, that's on there. Make sure it's tight. Alright, so I need to do the other one, but I need to put a plug in here, and I figure this might be the comedy part of the show because I put it over there right up into my edge of my heater on the wall, so it's going to be so hot that it's probably going to burn my fingers, but we'll see if it softened it up enough to put in there. Oh yeah, it's smoking. It smells like burnt rubber. Yeah, it's hot. Yeah. Okay, gonna put a glove on. That kind of sucked, man. All right. Woo-wee! Have a glove on this hand and then smash it with the other hand that doesn't have a glove on it. That's pretty smart, but it has a plug in it. I guess I better check the other side. Son of a gun. Well, that's pretty wild. There's not even a hole over here. That tells me that panel's been changed out. So that shop might have replaced this piece. You can buy these sections new because that's factory to have that hole in there, and there's not a hole over there, and there's supposed to be one on both sides. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's plugged anyway, so not having a hole over there is just fine with me. Just less burnt flesh, you know what I mean? I'm not going to bore you with the other one. All right, so I've got to do a little alteration of some of the front stuff on the car. When the car first came here, one of the problems was, and it was the same way on my hardtop as well, these corner pieces, the grille surround is 4 pieces, one of them's a hood bar, but you got 3 on your grille. You got a lower bar and then 2 ends. There's a seam right there. What you usually run into with these aftermarket grills and stuff is the holes that are in there. This goes on there with studs in it, with nuts on the backside, and they usually don't fit very well. So I noticed it before on his car when it first came here, and I took it off and went in and elongated that hole a little bit to alter it, and I still didn't get it quite perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this and elongate it even more. Just so I have the comfort room in there for adjustment, because you put a washer on the back of it anyway. So I'm going to do that. Now on his grill in particular, this is a brand new one. There's where a dirt dauber nest was right there. So there are new rubber bump stops on here, but this is something that bothers me. Now again, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and you know, there's just ways I do things, and there's ways that I don't like people to do things, and that's just the way it is. This original hood latch piece right here, they painted it body color. Now, on an original car, your grille was chrome plated, and this part right here is riveted to the grille. This is called your grille tie bar. So this was purchased separately in chrome. You can buy these in chrome. So it matches really well because you got a chrome grille and a chrome grille tie bar. It works awesome together. However, they didn't put rivets in there, which is fine. They put Phillips screws in here, and they've burred the hell out of the screws. Like, they're burred up. Like they probably had a 20-year-old Phillips screwdriver, it looks like. But this right here is not going to fly in my garage. All of them match, except that one. That's one of them universal ones that you can use a flat blade screwdriver in one side and a Phillips in the other. But these are regular screws here. So I cannot believe that. I can't stand that. Now, what I'm trying to get to is what I think is very, very out of place is this hood latch bracket. It's painted, and you can already see from the hood latch how chipped up the paint is, and that's the way it happens. It's always going to chip here. So, in my opinion, the top bracket at least needs to be chrome. This copper painted lower bracket is just fine. But this top piece to match with this, because it just sticks off there. Like, it looks out of place to me. But the other thing that they did was the bolts that they used, these are not factory bolts. The washers are bigger. So you've got washer hanging out on this side over here. And they have their markings in the head. None of those three match. They're all three different bolts. So that's what happens when you're a little bit of a perfectionist or even OCD. That type of crap right there, I can't stand it. So what I want to do is I want to see if I can get Steve to buy this, at least the top piece, in chrome. Because that chrome is going to be a lot harder than paint. So it will end up putting a spot in the chrome from the hood latch claw, but it doesn't chip way out like this where you can see gray primer under it. I've got a chrome one on mine, but anyway, what I want to do is take these mix-match screws out. There's not even one in here. And I want to put stainless steel button head Allens in here, and I'll polish them up and put nuts on the bottom. Check this out, guys. I can't make this shit up, man. See if I can get it in focus. Look at that nut right there. The nut is, I don't know if it's showing up on the camera. It's sticking. I can get my finger underneath there. The nut's not even tight, and there's not done on that one either. I'm telling you, man, whoever done that crap right there, I wouldn't even let them paint a lunchbox for me, man. I'm telling you. And that's terrible of me to say. I'm just, I don't know. I better just shut up. So, I'm going to see if he'll get this in chrome, and I'll change these out to stainless steel button head Allens. They're probably going to be either an 832 or a 1032, and I'll put nylon lock nuts on the bottom so they don't back off. If they would have put lock washers on those, it would have been fine, but it looks like they might have backed off, or they didn't even tighten them. I don't know, but there's two of them for sure we know is not put on there. But I also want to put stainless steel button head Allens in this top plate too, and I'll polish them up. So this will all be chrome, and if we can get this top piece in chrome and then put the polished button heads on there, it'll look fantastic. But to me, this is just, it's out of place. It's very amateur looking with these bolts. Anyway, and again, everybody's different. I'm sure you can get this piece chrome too, but I don't think this is not that, even though it's bent. Actually, I'm just noticing that. So this is not supposed to be bent like that, but I can straighten it. I can straighten it back out, but Anyway, I'm going to see if he'll spring for that. I don't know how much these are. I'm going to say they're probably around 50 or 60 bucks, I'd imagine, in chrome, but it's a huge, it goes with it, like it matches, in my opinion. But those bolts and these screws, that's terrible work, man. That's going over to the bolt bin and just getting whatever in the hell works in there is what that is. All right, so I've got my thing out. I don't even know what the hell it's called. Screw bin, I guess. I'm going to go through here and look and see what I have for hardware. I can at least see if that's a number 10, I guess. All right, it is. It's a number 10. So I'm going to use some number 10s in that. And I don't think I have any lock nuts. I'll have to go get some. Actually, I do. They're right here. I've got regular nuts mixed in them, though. Looks like I only have about 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, of course. But I get them at Lowe's in a pack. There'll be a bunch of them in there, and they're not very expensive. So I've got to go to Lowe's and get some more screws anyway. So I'm going to use stainless steel button head Allens, which is one of these rigs. They have a lower profile head on them, and they're domed real nice instead of, you know, sticking up real high like that crap that they've got on there. So anyway, that'll be a really nice upgrade on there. And then I want to put that same style bolt in here, but these are 5/16 by 18. Take one of these screws out if I can get it out. Oh, where's one of them that the nut was loose? I'll use that one. This one. Oh, I think it's cross-threaded. That's why it didn't get tightened. Son of a gun. That grill's starting to corrode. I need to clean it up too. It will clean up though. It'll clean up really, really nice. That is probably why the nut was cross-threaded. It's the hole doesn't quite line up in the two parts, so they probably run that screw in. Oh yeah, these threads are fried, man. That's going in the trash. Anyway, I've got plenty of these old 1032 stainless steel button head Allens, and I'll polish them up. And yeah, I'm going to open that hole up. I'll do one at a time, that way it doesn't get out of sync or anything, but I'll open that one up, put a new bolt in, and take that one out, open the hole up, put it in like that. But that, I don't know if I have any button head Allens that big. Yeah, I've got one, and I don't think it's long enough. Yeah, it's too short. Anyway, that's what I'm going to put in place on the hood latch if I can get him to buy a chrome one. But those will look really nice, polished up on there. I've got to go buy some anyway to do the rubber cover for the steering column through the firewall. I'm putting those on with button heads and nuts on the back. So anyway, I got a lot of work to do just on this, and this is why I was saying I'm not sure that I'm going to get this car done before Friday, the front clip ready to go on, because this has to be set up before that front clip's tight. It is very difficult to get a grill in a 55 Chevy with the front fenders and the splash apron already tight. I usually leave all that stuff really loose and then get the grill in and then tighten everything together. So this little work right here is going to take a little bit more time to do, but I can't let it leave here with mix match hardware. These are stainless. These big headed Phillips are stainless. They just burred them out real bad. Probably used an old, worn out Phillips screwdriver. And then this one is a mix match, and it's just zinc plated screw. So when the hood's open, you see every bit of that. That is in your face when the hood's open. So this has to look nice. But I can't understand spending, they're probably the ones that had Steve get it, this chrome tie bar. These are expensive. These are probably well over $100 for that chrome plated grill tie bar. So why go through the trouble of putting that on there and then do crap quality amateur work like that? Boggles the mind, doesn't it? Maybe I'm being too critical. I don't think I am, though. All right, first thing I'm going to do is kind of clean this up a little bit. I'll let that dirt dauberness soak a little bit, but like it's got all kinds of like corrosion and crap here. So I want to make sure all this is cleaned and repolished before I put a new screw on there. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and put screws over that corrosion. And then once it's all clean, you'll see it barely around the edge of each one of them screws, a little bit of fogginess. So I'll clean it all first. Well, I'm taking my time and I'm doing one at a time, which it takes longer to do that, but the hole in the tie bar is a little bit small, so I'm having to, I'll polish one screw, put it in there, and then put the nylon lock nut on it, and I'll tighten it down. Then I'll pull the next screw out, the Phillips one, and then go through the cleanup deal to get the corrosion off from around it, and go through the whole thing one by one. That way this thing doesn't get out of shape real bad, which I don't think it's really going to matter. It looks like the holes are kind of close, but if I take them all out, it may not drill out where it needs to. You know what I mean? This actually looks like it had a screw in it. I don't know. I don't understand, but anyway, I've got all of these changed out with polished 1032 stainless steel button head Allens now, and it looks really clean. Originally this is riveted, and a rivet is a nice soft dome top, and that's pretty much exactly like a stainless steel button head Allen. So here's the stainless steel Phillips pan head that they have in here, or oval head I mean. Oval head screw is what it's called. So look at the height difference there on that one compared to that one. See how tall that Phillips is sticking up there? This is just a little bit nicer quality of hardware, in my opinion. Now, I do use a lot of my stainless steel hardware on Steve's car. That's my stuff, and I don't charge him for that stuff. However, when I bought these 1032s, this was a pack of 100, and it's just gotten dumped out in this deal here. So I'm never going to use all of those 1032 screws, guys, so I don't mind giving them to Steve. I don't. He gave me some of his old used parts, that I can use on other 55s. So it all kind of works out. I'm not gonna charge him for, you know, this something that I have here that I'm not gonna use. I would rather him get use out of it. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, I'm gonna need more 1032 nylon nuts because I only have 5, and I need, what is there, 7? Yeah, there's 7 of them in here, and I only have 5, so I'm missing 2. But I'll go down to Lowe's and I'll buy a pack. I think there's like 15 of them in a pack, and it's only going to be like $5 or something. So I'll put that on his bill, the $5 for the nuts, and see how it kind of will just work itself out. I mean, even though those screws probably would cost more money, you know what I mean? I don't think he's going to mind me charging him, you know, for the nuts, but then he gets, you know, the screws for free. So the screws are going to cost more than the nuts are, is what I'm saying. But anyway, it just, to me, it's got to have it. But this has got to go, man. I can't do that. But I mean, you know, it's another one of those deals where it's another part that he has to buy, and I don't know if he wants to pay for that. You know what? Let's go in there to Amazon and see if we can find one. All right, guys. So I came in here and I went straight to Google and I typed in 1955 Chevy hood latch plate chrome and brought it up, and then I clicked on shopping at the upper left, and it's bringing quite a few up. Eckler's has it $49.99, but that's going to be plus shipping. Let's see. Classic Industries has it for $32.99. There is some on eBay for around $36 to $38, I think is what it was. There's one right there, eBay, $39.95, and they're all plus shipping. But anyway, it's probably going to be just shy of $50. Here's a billet aluminum one, and it comes with the bolts, but that's way too much money. I'd rather have the chrome. The reason is the aluminum's soft, and it's going to mar up and actually gouge the metal, the aluminum. The chrome is chrome-plated steel, so it's going to be a harder metal. Plus, the chrome's harder than paint, so it won't mark as near as bad as painted surface. Oh, man, that thing is freaking badass. Pardon my French. That right there is awesome. Ooh, $199 at Summit. That's the whole thing. That's the lower piece, and it's custom. It's curved and milled out. Man, that's freaking cool, but it's not $200 cool. Eckler's has it for $254. That's the same one. So what I'd like to get is just a chrome-plated steel one. Now, they do have regular replacement ones that are just CAD plate or zinc plated, and they're $15.95, but I'd like to get the chrome one on there. The chrome would look really nice, man. I got all the bolts in there, the stainless steel button heads, polished each one of them. So I lucked out because I only had 5 nylon lock nuts in here and they needed 7, and what had happened was there was a couple of them that had worked their way, like this deal had lifted up, and there was a couple over here on the edge, so I ended up having 7. I think that was it too. I think that's all I got. That's actually acorn nuts that belong over there, 2 of them. So it ended up working out. I had 7, and I've got it on there and tight, so it's got nylon lock nuts on the back and it's snug down. So I polished up the top up here. I didn't do anything else on the grill. I just done the top, and my rag is so gummy with polish that it, you know, this left a few streaks and stuff on it, but nothing bad, nothing terrible. So if you see some haze in it, it's because that rag's just, I need a brand new one to fully clean it. Anyway, I'm happy with that. That'll work. We just now to get rid of this redneck looking stuff here. But there's a nylon lock nut on every one of them. And I didn't put, you know, just because at first I was short 2 nylocks, I didn't go in and put 1024s in there because I have 1024 nylon lock nuts right there. So, and I do have some 1024 button head Allens I could have used. So it's all the same matching hardware. Well, I went in my house, into my spare bedroom, and brought out the right front fender. So this is, I've got his front clip to the car stored in a spare bedroom, and every piece is wrapped in old comforters. But anyway, this needs a little bit of modification here so the hood will actually close. So this is what I was talking about in that other clip, was somebody's put this hardware in here and it's too tall, like the heads are too tall, and you can see where it's chipped the paint because the bottom of the hood edge is sitting on that, and it's causing the hood to be too high. But anyway, this could have been avoided had the car been mocked up, but it was panel painted basically is what they did, and a lot of shops do that. But you know, mock up, you'd have found all this stuff and been able to correct everything. But anyway, just nothing we can do about it now other than try to fix it. Now the problem that I have is they painted this all together. These are riveted on from the factory. There should be 2 little rivets here, and there's, what is there, 3 across the bottom. It actually still has its original rivets there, so sometimes these break loose, but for whatever reason, they put these large tall bolts in here. But I want to remove these and put stainless steel button head Allens in here, but the problem is the paint. You can see how the paint's built up along the edge of the shoulder of the bolt. So when I go to loosen these, it's probably going to chip the paint. So I'm trying to figure out what to do here. The only thing I can really think of is take a razor blade and cut around. Man. Cut around the edge of that and try to break the paint right there. I don't know. Maybe I just need to put a couple layers of masking tape along this edge, and like on here and across here, and just try to grind these down a little bit, and then go back and dab some copper back on there with a brush, you know. Dang. It just sucks, man. I've got to try to figure out how to, I don't know what they got going on here. They've notched that out for sure when they went to put it on there. I did not do that. Anyway, they've notched that out to fit. But anyway, they didn't even get coverage around where the washer was, looks like. Which I'm going to put some stainless hardware in here and make it look nice. So I'll use a large Fender washer on here and it'll cover all that. It'll just look better anyway. But this is what I'm stuck on. These need to be changed out because they're too tall. It's holding that hood up. But that's my issue at this point. Pretty sure if I go to loosen that off, it is probably going to break the paint pretty bad. Dang it! Somebody's slack assery. I'm stuck now trying to make it work. All right, it ended up chipping on me. I knew it was going to. I'm just going to have to mix up some more of that paint and go in here and patch this up. It's in a not so noticeable part of the car anyway, but anyway, it's all I could do to be able to get this hood to fit down lower and be even with the fender instead of being popped up. So anyway, the one thing that really bums me out is it's a number 10 size hole is what it's supposed to be, and they've opened this up to 1/4 inch. So it took a bigger bolt, and that really kind of frustrates me. So I went in the house and I got some of the stainless steel button head Allens that I'd got for my wife's 4-door, and I found 2 1/4x20s for that. And then I got a couple of these are serrated flange nuts, so you know they'll definitely be on there because I don't want to, they can't have a whole big buildup of stuff on the back side of this because it sits on that pad. But I dug around, I found some washers in my stainless drawer, and I found a couple of washers that, you know, they take up a lot of that roughness. I just got to patch this outer edge, and I mean, I patched some on the car and it kind of worked pretty good, so it'll be just fine. But at least now the hood will fit flat. You know, it really sucks at the paint chip, but I knew it was going to anyway. Anyway, so I think what'd be best is I've just got this in here so you can see what it looks like with the washer and the button head on there. This is a little bit lower profile than what was in here, so the hood will fit down lower. But I'm going to pull this back out of here, and I'm going to go ahead and have to mix up some of that paint, get it all globbed on there, and then let it sit overnight, and then I'll put the hardware in it tomorrow. But this is just some of the stuff that I knew I had to address before the front end went on the car. So of course it's going to take a lot longer because, you know, now I've got to go in and patch that stuff. But at least the hood will fit even with the fender now, hopefully. All right, so I got the touch-up paint in there, and I done it without the hardware in it. And then I got my heat gun out, and I heated it up pretty good, and then I let it cool down for about, I don't know, probably about 7 or 8 minutes. Then I went back and heated it up again, and then let it cool down again. And at that point, I wasn't getting any paint on my finger, so it was tacking off pretty good. So I wanted to go ahead and put the hardware in and tighten it up while the paint was still soft, because if I let it harden overnight, because that's originally what I was going to do, if I'd have let it harden all the way and I went down and tightened that all down, I was afraid it would probably chunk the paint back out. So anyway, I went ahead and tightened it down, and now it's good to go. And it's kind of hard to see that I touched it up. I mean, I know it's there, and you guys, and you know, obviously watching the video know it's there, but it's not going to be sticking out like a sore thumb now of, you know, gray primer under there. But anyway, now the hood will fit more flat down and be even with the fender, which is what the goal was. So I never did get to wire the starter solenoid because I wanted to pull the car out and pull it in here at an angle and to have more room. But I would rather do that when I'm putting the front fenders and stuff on the car. That way, like now, it's too late in the evening to try to do the starter and then try to get the fenders hung. I don't have enough time, so I would rather have an all-day early start to do the starter solenoid wires. Then I can go in and start bolting the front clip on. So that's kind of the goal for tomorrow is that. But I'm glad that, you know, I said not set in stone, because obviously didn't make it. But now, you know, I had my parents' Christmas yesterday, so, you know, we had our lunch date and it went into the afternoon. So I pretty much lost the whole day. So I didn't come out here and do anything. But, you know, it's a full day that I lost, but that's another full day in here. And, I mean, doing this little bitty crap like that is just taking a lot of time. But I can tell you that the car is going to be super nice, man. It's going to be a really, really nice car. I have slowly gotten the hackery out of the car. It's kind of funny because I'm still finding some of it, you know, and I try to fix it all. But that was definitely some hackery there. There's no telling. You know, if you think about it, somebody putting them bolts in there like that, the nuts on the I couldn't tell on the heads because it had so many layers of paint and primer on it. But on the bottom, the old nuts were really, really nasty and rusty. I just threw them in the trash. So this could have been done back in the 60s. You know, who knows? You can't point the finger at just one person. I mean, this car is so old. There's probably been lots of people that's done work on this car. And the car had been painted maroon and base coat, clear coat when Steve bought it. And then it ended up, he drove it for a while and the clear coat was peeling off. And then he ended up taking it to the shop and they did this to it. So, I mean, there's no telling how old that repair was done or how long ago that repair was done. But anyway, I'm moving right along, I guess. But the plan for tomorrow is to work on the starter solenoid wiring, try to get that knocked out, and then I'm going to start hanging front end. So I'm pretty excited because once the front clip goes on, I will have an empty spare bedroom, mostly empty spare bedroom, because right now we have a 3-bedroom house and it's just me, my wife, and our dog. But in one bedroom, it is Steve's entire front clip and everything's wrapped in blankets. So like the whole entire room's taken up by front clip. But there are some other stuff in there, some of his new parts and some other crap for his cars in there too. So I've almost got an empty bedroom again, and all I'll do is end up filling it with more car parts anyway. So whether it's his or somebody else's or mine, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? But it has been a while since I've seen that bedroom, so it'd be kind of nice. But I guess that's it for today, guys. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take these washers out from in here because I don't think I'm gonna need them now, because now that I changed that hardware out, lower profile, that hood will go down lower, and I think this will actually fit like it's supposed to. So I'll take these screws out and pull them washers out from under there, and then I think I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna be so cramped with all this crap in the way over here trying to get down here and wire the solenoid on the starter. I'd rather get the car in here at an angle tomorrow. And I'm gonna have to do some car shuffling because my wife's little car is right by the door, and then my truck's right behind it. So tomorrow morning, I'm gonna have to move 2 vehicles, then open the garage door, and then push Steve's car out, turn the wheels, and then come back in this way. And there's no steering wheel, so I'm gonna be up here, turning the front end by hand, but not a big deal. I mean, the car rolls pretty easy, or it did before I done some brake work on it, so maybe it don't. I don't know. We'll find out though. Anyway, that's enough for today, guys. Thanks for watching.